Sequel trilogy fans, no Boba Fett haters. You don't think, and I can't deal with you anymore. If you don't, if you can't answer a question, simply why do you hate it, and you come up with something that isn't really an answer, and a lot of people have, then go sit down. I'm not interested. I'm done. So anyway, let's talk about Star Wars villains. The great French filmmaker Jean Renoir, who is also the son of Pierre-Auguste Renoir, the painter. I have actually some prints of those paintings. I'd like to put them somewhere in the house. They're beautiful. That time in art canvas is exquisite. It really is. But Pierre Renoir was the father of Jean Renoir, who was, in a sense, he was named as one of the top 4 directors of all time. Hi, John 42. He directed several big movies. If you want to look up his filmography, that's great. I might do that in a little while. I've been watching a lot of Orson Welles interviews. You can't understand how magnificently talented Welles was until you look at everything that he did in his life. And one of the quotes that he came up with was something in talking about what makes a villain interesting, because they were talking about his movie A Touch of Evil, which is one of the greatest, I think, film noirs classics ever made. Morning, and he went in. Charlton Heston said, "I'm not going to do this movie to," I think it was MGM. I think they're the ones that were behind it, unless Orson Welles comes in and directs it. So Orson Welles is already named as playing the villain. So basically Welles said, "I'll direct it if I can rewrite it." So he rewrote it. People were shocked to see Marlene Dietrich with black hair. She was playing a gypsy. And the movie in rushes the suits liked. The moment they saw the cut that was presented, they were like, so they really didn't give it any credence. They kept Welles out of the cutting room. "Hey, hi, I'm how's it going in Scotland?" And basically it was kind of shifted off to like small venues. But that's where the story started. That was where the interview started. And he mentioned, because he was talking about the character that he played, and he mentioned what makes a villain interesting is how human you can make them. And he mentioned this quote from one of Renoir's films: "The truly terrible thing is everyone has their reasons." Okay, that's a good start. Let's talk about that. Then you can ask, is Anakin Skywalker a villain or an antagonist? There's a difference there too. All right. In rating Darth Plagueis, Plagueis himself is motivated to live forever. Okay, he after a assassination attempt, he kind of sequestered himself away and was working on trying to get the midichlorians to do his bidding, basically trying to bend the Force to his will. Palpatine was part of that. Palpatine was getting tired of carrying the burden of taking over the galaxy, and once Palpatine was basically nominated and was chancellor of the Republic, Palpatine kills him. Now, Plagueis's motivations were, he had his reasons. He basically wanted to take his broken body and trade it in for a new, younger one. Okay. Palpatine in Shadows in Dark Empire wanted to do the same thing with clones. The rise of Shitwalker being the really bad version of that, not so great story. But Palpatine's reasons. Now, the story of Darth Plagueis also talks about Palpatine's upbringing. Not a happy childhood. He did race speeders, etc. across Naboo. He was a young man who was given to, I would say, adrenaline rushes and things like that. And he had a great gift. Palpatine sought him, or Plagueis sought him out. And when Palpatine's father discovered the friendship and bond between Palpatine and Plagueis, he tried to put an end to it. And Palpatine, who didn't want an ordinary life, who didn't want what his father was offering him, who didn't like what his, hey Troy, okay, great. Palpatine didn't want to he wanted power, okay? When someone grows up feeling they're powerless, and we know this from history, Stalin, Hitler, Castro, Pinochet's detractors, Che Guevara, Chairman Mao. When somebody grows up feeling powerless, and great power comes into their hands, they tend not to do the things that great responsibility with that comes with that power demands. Okay? And Palpatine didn't have any power over himself until he basically killed his entire family. He basically became so enraged, the dark side just came out of him and he just killed everybody. Okay? They called it an accident. He took over the family money and holdings, and Plagueis basically trained him in the ways of the Sith. But Palpatine wanted more. And he did not want to live life as an ordinary man. Well, when you're that imbued with the dark side just naturally, you tend to lean in towards power mongering, to callousness, to a lack of a moral compass. There's immorality and amorality, and he was amoral, which I think is far more evil. That there is no moral, you don't have there was no choice. And hence his name's Sidious. Okay, because the word literally comes from insidious. And it goes back to everyone has his reasons. Palpatine wanted to live forever. B, he wanted to take the galaxy as his own and extend his power and create the new Sith Empire. And he was incredibly gifted in the way he manipulated people, hence Sidious, his name. The way he controlled people, even the Jedi Council. Okay? And his reasons, I mean, when you look at, let's say, like in history, you look at Hitler. Hitler grew up in an abusive household, and his mother was overly indulgent. His father died. Hitler was, I believe, living on the streets of Vienna trying to sell picture postcards that he painted. And his mother died. And he never got over it. Never got over it. He became enamored. He was always a narcissistic kid. I mean, when you look at Palpatine, very much a narcissist. Okay, the world revolves around me. Okay, you look at Alan J. Bullock's biography of Adolf Hitler, you notice that the people who knew Hitler as a child said that everything that they did in play revolved around him being the leader and his whatever pretend character he was playing. And so there's a narcissistic streak of having to be in control, because in his life at home, he was not in control. Raised as a Catholic, taught that you're in control of your own behavior, but your destiny somewhat. However, yeah, Carlos, you're right. But in the end, you're subservient. You're basically not this powerful entity. God is. Okay. When you look at Hitler's belief system, he was a pagan. He wasn't a Christian. Sure, they wanted a German Christian church. They wanted to take the German culture that had become rooted in Catholicism and mainline Protestantism away from the universality of Christianity. Didn't really work that well. A lot of resistance to it. Martin Niemöller, who had been a U-boat captain in World War I and became a staunch anti-Hitler voice, who spent years in a blackened cell at Sachsenhausen, can testify to that. And the fact that there is, despite many anti-Catholic sentiments out there, that Pope Pius XII actually kind of was supporting conspiracies to assassinate Der Fuhrer. But it's this lack of feeling of power. So instead of living the way that we live, even if some of us have grown up in houses like that, you don't take control of your life, you take control of everybody else's lives. Okay. Palpatine did that. He looked at other people because of his incredible gift of being force sensitive as nothing more than pawns. Okay? Nothing more as chess pieces to move about a board. All right? Manipulating people and events to suit his own reasons. And the reason why he did that is he felt powerless, so he was taking what power he had and using it to be basically to decide events and destinies of other people. The fact that he gave himself up to, he even says it to Anakin. Some would consider it unnatural. Okay, yeah, it is. Sith alchemy is unnatural. All right? Sith alchemy does not go with the natural order of things. The Sith want to control the Force. You can't do that. The Force will always come back and balance itself out by removing the dark side. Again, we're talking about chaos over order. Okay, and not order. When I think about Vader saying, and bring order to the galaxy, the order that people long for is power over their own lives. All right, as much as they can have. Power to make their own decisions, as much as they can have. Again, everyone has his reasons. All right, and this, when I think about Sidious and his machinations in taking over the galaxy, first as a senator, then as a chancellor, and then basically making, by basically doing what he was doing, taking the Senate and turning it into a pawn of his, taking the Jedi, who should have seen through him, and making them pawns. Okay? He is the puppet master. Again, because as a child, he didn't have any power over himself. So now, as a grown up, as Chancellor, and as a Sith Lord, he can exude power over everybody else. That is basically what I think is the thing. And when you look at the book Darth Plagueis, and you realize the humanity behind Sidious and his feelings of resentment towards his parents. Thanks, Dave. It's really it makes him more engaging. Now, let me ask you a question. Is Anakin Skywalker, the Force is life itself. I mean, that's what the books and the canon says, is he tried to take control of the Force and create life, okay? And their machinations caused the Force to react by creating Anakin. So is Anakin Skywalker an antagonist or a villain? There's a huge difference. An antagonist is not necessarily evil. He just stands in opposition of the protagonist. And in this case, when you look at Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is a protagonist in some ways, but definitely an antagonist in other ways. Okay. Protagonist is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Bail Organa, and others. Okay. And Anakin, because he never quite reconciled himself. No, I'm rambling right now, Jonathan. Never quite reconciled himself to where he came from. Humble beginnings as a slave boy. Then the person who freed him, who is basically the first real father figure in his life, is murdered. He becomes the charge of a young, still kind of naive Obi-Wan Kenobi who's not quite up to the challenge of training a gifted student like Anakin. And he couldn't really get past Abe being a slave. And then his mother, tortured by the Sand People, dies in his arms. And the thing that makes Anakin so different from Plagueis, everything that he does comes from love. Comes from a place of wanting to do the right thing, okay? And of course he has anger issues. Anger because what he perceives as wrongs, things taken away from him. His mother, Qui-Gon Jinn, pushes him, and really, when you watch Attack of the Clones, he goes to the dark side there when he attacks the Sand People. All right? He goes to the dark side in a way that you can't imagine. But he doesn't do it because he is evil, okay? Like Palpatine. He does it because he is in so much pain at his mother being killed, murdered, tortured to death. And he takes out his anger and vengeance on the people who did it. Now, and some aspects you say they deserved it. But he killed everybody. And this is where he steps over the line. Okay. That's his first step into the dark side. And as you watch the Clone Wars, and then you get into Revenge of the Sith, you see him getting more and more closer to completely becoming consumed by it. It goes from, you see, all right, I'll bring up the episode in Clone Wars, the Clovis episode, Padme's ex-boyfriend. Anakin is consumed by jealousy. Okay. Obi-Wan tells him, I'm glad, you're friends with her, but you got to stop this. You can't have attachments. Anakin, of course, ignores him and beats the unholy hell out of Clovis. Beats the hell out of him. And it is yet another indication that Anakin is going to the dark side. Okay. That he's letting his natural impulses of, defending his territory. Natural male impulse. Defending Padme. Defending their relationship from this manipulative jackass. And in some ways, he was right about Clovis, and Padme was wrong. Okay, but still, what he does is beyond what he should have done. And then you get into, okay, so you got a guy who has never gotten over being a slave, losing Qui-Gon Jinn, which was a huge deal, a bigger deal than people really understand. Losing his mother the way he did, basically, falling into the weaknesses of jealousy and all of that, fearing that his wife will die. And again, Sidious starts manipulating him that way. Sidious knows he has him. Sidious basically took up the power vacuum in Anakin's life where a father figure would be. That was Qui-Gon Jinn's role. Okay, now it's Darth Sidious. Anakin's reasons for falling to the dark side is he's resentful of the Jedi for not letting him sit on the council, or what was it? We will grant you a seat on the council, but you don't get the rank of master. They wouldn't name him a master because of his friendship with Sidious. They knew something was wrong with this. Okay, had reasons not to trust him. Anakin wasn't like any of them, and they knew it. He's resentful of that. He thinks Obi-Wan Kenobi held him back, didn't give him his opportunities, and didn't appreciate him, didn't listen to him. And that was always the back of his mind. Always. Loved Obi-Wan like a father, and was resentful of Obi-Wan because he felt Obi-Wan was holding him back. Was afraid to lose Padme, and he basically says something that is outlandish when he says to her, I'm going to become so powerful that nobody I love will ever die. Okay. That is dark side. That is not Jedi. And the reason why he's like this is simply because everything he loved, everything he wanted, everything that meant anything to him was gone. The people, his goals. Fear is huge. And Anakin's drift towards being, again, not a villain, but an antagonist. And when we first meet him as Darth Vader, we look at him as solely a villain. But when you get to The Empire Strikes Back, you suddenly realize there's something else going on here. And I look at Empire as not just being Luke and Han and Leia's dark times. Okay? Luke discovering that dude is his dad. Anakin having to come to terms with all the terrible things he did. And Padme's last words to Obi-Wan, there's good in him, I know this. Okay, that part is coming back up. Oh, I know, Carlos, that's what I meant, is they couldn't see it. They knew something was wrong, but they couldn't see it. So and this is always the example I talk about, I think it does. I really do. I think it does. When, Dave, when I've talked about this before, but the scene where the Falcon is about ready to get into the executor's tracking beam, or to be pulled in, and Vader's watching and see the Falcon, and then R2 turns on the hyperdrive, and it goes, and everyone goes flying in the Falcon. It disappears, and Vader's standing there watching with his hands behind his back. And the look on Admiral Pietty's like, and then he kind of looks up at Vader, like, I'm dead. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna choke me just like he killed Ozzel and Nita. And he doesn't. He just walks, hands behind his back, walks past him. That's not Darth Vader anymore. That's Anakin Skywalker. That's Anakin Skywalker looking back on his life and saying, what have I done? That is my son. What am I doing? All right, now, goals. What does Anakin Skywalker want? What does Vader want? Order to the galaxy? Or is his ultimate goal to kill the Emperor? He says this to Luke, join me and we will rule the galaxy as father and son. There's nothing about serving the Emperor there at all. Because I don't need the stupid, silly, low canon comic books of Charles Soule and the rest of these despicable, terrible story writers to explain to me that motivation. In fact, I think Star Wars Theory's fan film, Shards of the Past, it's not great, but it at least gives you an idea of what Vader might be thinking without all the theatrics. Who's to blame for all of this? Padme dying. Yeah, I must obey my master, yes. But at the same time, in Empire Strikes Back, he says we can rule the galaxy as father and son. And always in the back of his mind, because always two there are, no more, no less. And the apprentice always kills the master. All right? Anakin now I lost my point. Can't remember where I was. Shit. Anakin blames, or here we go, back to where I was. Anakin looks at who's at fault. Obi-Wan. You turned her against me, Anakin says to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan says, you did that yourself. He blames himself. He tells Padme on the platform at Mustafar, I can destroy the Emperor. We can rule the galaxy as we see fit. That is the ultimate goal, because he's a Sith. But also, as Anakin Skywalker, Palpatine's got to go. Okay? He sees what Sidious did to the galaxy. He sees what Sidious did to the Jedi Order. And he sees what Sidious did to himself, did to him, did to his family. All right? He doesn't necessarily blame himself in lots of ways for what he perceives of what happened to Padme. She died of a broken heart, which he's indirectly responsible for. but he did not kill her. That was a lie. That was a lie to make him rage. Okay? And when he says out loud, "No, I am your father," that is the moment when all of that resentment towards Palpatine is out there in the open. Everything he probably blames Palpatine for taking away from him is out there now. Together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. That was always the goal because that's what Sith do. But as Anakin Skywalker, Palpatine is the villain. Anakin is the antagonist. They're as much at each other's throats in lots of ways as Anakin Vader is against the rebellion. When you first meet him in Star Wars, he's, pretty much an automaton. And you don't realize there's a human being under there. Or what's left of one. And when you watch the Clone Wars TV show and the prequels, you see, going back to the quote, the truly terrible thing is everyone has his reasons. Anakin's reasons were fear of loss, resentment, and a longing to have personal power over everything around him. And the jealousy of keeping things that he cares about safe. And these are the things that Palpatine used against him. And it makes for a terrible villain and a terrible antagonist when you think about it. Because Palpatine, in reality, created his own enemy. He created his own destruction. Yoda said, "Do not trust your new apprentice," to him. And he shouldn't have. Not just because the apprentice always kills the master. It's because Yoda knew that when Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, kills the Emperor and dies himself, Vader dies. And the last breaths of life are Anakin Skywalker again. That balance will be restored. Now I want to talk about one more thing before I go. Generation Tech, which is a millennial dirtbag channel. It's got a lot of followers. I really don't care. I don't like these beta male cucks running these big channels. They annoy me. Anyway, was talking about the treasures of Tatooine. When you look at Tatooine, it's important. A reason why it is important to the Hutts and probably to the Pikes. It's because of where it sits. The trade routes, where it sits. The hyperspace lanes. And that's it. Okay. References to Tatooine. When Luke says, if there's a bright side of the galaxy or on the planet farthest from it, that is kind of analogous to back when the Romans basically were the overlords of the Levant, aka Palestine, looking at Galilee and Judea and saying nothing worthwhile ever came out of Nazareth. Why do they keep coming to Tatooine? You look at the book of Boba Fett, this last show, which was a cutaway from the Boba Fett cutaway, which is Boba Fett is a cutaway. That's it. You look at that, a Naboo starfighter, N1 starfighter. It could actually be Anakin's, the one that Anakin got, pulled into the tracking beam and then blew up the Space Federation, the Trade Federation's ship. Okay, that could be what that ship is. Anakin Skywalker casts a long shadow on Palpatine, or on Tatooine. And there's a reason why we keep going back there. Is because that is where the story truly starts. He wasn't born on Tatooine, just like Christ wasn't born in Nazareth. Christ was born in Bethlehem. He was raised there. Luke wasn't born on Tatooine, but he was raised there. That is what makes Tatooine special. It is a place off the grid. No one would ever pay attention to, where the things that will put it right are allowed to mature, grow, and become what they are. Tatooine is a very interesting place, and I would prefer that they would go somewhere else. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you have COVID, Misha? I hope not. So when you look at it, don't be bored with seeing Tatooine. There's something about it. Like I said, in Mandalorian, we saw Cobb Vanth, his speeder with these engines that look like they came off of Anakin's pod racer. Okay, Long Shadow. There's going to be more, and it's great to see references to the prequels. What was confirmed it wasn't his? And who confirmed it? These are the things that make me go, really, who confirmed it? It's just the long shadow that when you're thinking prequels are over, Vader's dead, we go on. What happened there still matters. And it still seeps through to the stories. It's the long shadow of Anakin Skywalker. So, what do we have? 3 episodes left? Well, you should can you get a fast test? One of those quick test kits? And get one, okay? If you've got a headache, you got a tickle in the back of your throat, you probably have it, okay? And it's Omicron. Everyone's getting it. Everyone. I mean, everybody at work. But my husband has got it. And I'm pretty sure we're probably both going to get it. And I'm like, I intend to wrap myself up in a blanket, be pissed off for a few days, and that's it. That's what I intend. Well, that's all well and good, but you can see where the money went, first off. Second of all, there's a lot of distractions going on, and I realized that they actually pushed back the date of Boba Fett dropping from, I think it was supposed to be October, to December. And that probably, the idea that I think that the editing, it was rushed, really is coming into play. And I'm going to assume once they put it out in 4K, which I think they will, that we're probably going to get a better updated version. I think that they should let Favreau, once the run is done, to go back and tinker with it and fix it. So we'll have to see, but I think there are like, what, 3 episodes left? I thought there were only 2. But I don't really care if the show doesn't leave Tatooine. That's fine. Other YouTubers, I don't really give credence to that. They're these channels like Star Wars Theory, and as I admire him, he's a good guy. I don't have any problem with him. But like Generation Tech and others, you could have Huttese KK written on the side of a house and it'll go right over their heads. Boom, right over their heads. And if you bring it up to them, they'll say, "Oh no, she's there forever." That's a blatant fuck you to her. Let me give you a historical example. When archaeologists were digging through the rubble around the temple of Hatshepsut in Egypt, she was an Egyptian pharaoh. She's basically regent to, I think, Thutmose II or III. He was a very young child when his father died. She was the wife. She was the chief queen. And okay, great, Troy, thanks. So it's two episodes. They found very blatant, nasty graffiti of the queen caught in a delicate situation with the head architect of that temple. Okay, that's blatant. That would have gotten you killed in Egypt for that. Okay, so when you see KK written in Huttese on what looks like a moisture farm, that could have been the Lars family homestead. That's a blatant fuck you to her and to the story group. Okay, treating her like a Nikto biker gang, and then literally having KK written, having them put that on there is pretty powerful, a statement. Okay, seeing it again on the side of the Tusken Raiders, the tent K, pretty blatant, I think. So, to the people who, I get into a chat. Yeah, people, oh, she's not going anywhere. Where'd you hear that? Canal? Why? Why, when he doesn't have any insight at all, or any of these people, why are they experts? Gary, comic book store owner. And, they don't deserve the accolades that they get. Okay, they don't deserve and they've really hurt the fandom with this nonsense. They really have. Squashing voices or attempted, gatekeeping, which is what they do. They don't understand the harm they're doing to the franchise, which they'll sit there for clickbait. It's dead. Ugh. Another, $10,000 in AdSense money comes their way, or whatever they make. It makes for good theater, but it's fake. It's fake, all right? It's fake because there's no information or facts around it. It's fake because they don't do their homework. It's fake because they don't understand what goes on in the background of some of these things. Okay, so I gotta go. I've been on for 45 minutes and my voice is going. So you guys be good. And always, when you're watching a movie, doesn't matter what movie you're watching, remember this Jean Renoir. Okay, and I don't care. They can do that. I still think it's an illusion for Anakin. I don't care what they say. Who cares? But it's not his. That's not the point, dumbasses. That's not the point. Again, symbolism, things put in a place for you to notice. Easter eggs. Duh! Again, I need it written out in crayon or I won't understand it. It's kind of like arguing about if the Book of Boba Fett's a good show. You either have to hate it or you're not part of the club. You're not allowed to have an opinion other than that. You can't even say, look, I found it a little off, but the story is good. You're not allowed to say that anywhere. Anywhere. And to the people who are freaking out because Boba Fett didn't appear in this episode, all those shows with him in it are a cutaway from the main story. Okay? Have you ever watched a movie? The Empire Strikes Back? Luke training, then we cut away to the Falcon. Then we cut away back to Luke. Then we cut away to the Executor. Were you all pissed off when you didn't see Luke every 24/7 in that movie? No, you weren't. Same thing. Look at it as a very long movie. Okay? But I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. We're not, here's the deal. Because of these YouTubers and the fact that they're infecting decent people with their sickness, the people who would like it, who are now saying they hate it, don't even enjoy it. We're not allowed to enjoy anything anymore. All right? That's bullshit. And it's going to kill, these black pills are going to kill their own channels and other people's channels with this shit. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Troy. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm hungry and I gotta get something to drink. So you guys all be good. If you're upset and you run to somebody saying, she said this about you, I don't care. I don't care. You know, because grown-ups don't care about what other people think. And don't care about being part of cliques. I'm not in high school anymore. Time for the gatekeeping and the clicking shit to stop. Because it's killing the fandom. The black pill cliques are killing the fandom. All right? And that's the bottom line. Anyway, but every time you go and look at one of those channels, just think of this quote. The truly terrible thing is everyone has their reasons. I'll see you around the galaxy.